Hello friends, and welcome to CJoy Yoga. Crystal Joy Johnson here. I think most of y'all all know me though. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about self-worth. And you know, if this is not a topic you care about, you don't have to watch this one by any means. It's going to be me talking a little bit about my own story, because I find that is so a place of reference I can come from, instead of me saying, well, I researched and in this study. I might reference stuff, but really it's, you know, it's the stuff I'm working with, and I research the heck out of it to make sure I give good information for myself and for others. But so self-worth, the past year, since like last January, I have been struggling with self-worth, my lack of, my low self-worth, and I've been in and out of depression. Not clinical, but still highs and lows throughout this year, and it's been a pretty tough year for me that way. Not eating well, not being active, really shutting myself off from people at times, which I think was a really good thing in many ways, right? Because then I was really by myself in this world with these thoughts and sitting still and trying to figure stuff out. And sometimes it was a little bit unhealthy, and I should have reached out to other human beings. But the thing that keeps coming up for me over and over and over with everything in my life, when I looked at financially and why my business wasn't taking off, and why I'm not successful in love, and why I don't have a partner, and you know, the different things, why my marriage didn't work, whatever it was, I feel like almost every place that I looked, it kept coming back to this place of me feeling like I wasn't worthy. And so I started to really discover how low my self-worth was. And so this year has been like, okay, now I see that, I get it. How do I create? How do I elevate my self-worth? I'm still working at it, but I've figured a number of things out. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not getting my worth from external sources, and I'm finally getting it from myself. Well, some days I still get some from outer sources, but the interesting thing is the little observer in me is like, oh, you just got self-worth from that when that person said that. Okay, that's interesting, Can you find that for yourself, right? And so it's this little thing I've been, thing I've been on. And I spoke to a few friends recently about it, my good friends, and they are in a similar place. And I'm like, gosh, this self-worth stuff is not only coming up for me, but it's coming up for other people. That's so interesting. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I'm going to give a couple of possible ways that you can figure out how to find out if you have low self-worth, and you know, some ways that maybe you can start to look at how do I boost that. I think the best way to start this, I have a board over here. I don't have a teleprompter here at my studio, so I apologize if I'm looking over here, but in order to contain and not go off on tangents and get crazy excited and be like, I never said that, I have my bullet points over here so that I keep myself contained. I need a container around Crystal Joy. So that said, I think it's a really good idea to define what is self-worth. I think we hear it interchangeably a lot with self-esteem, but the two are very, very, very different to me in my world, and you know, in the research I've done to many other people as well. So the Cambridge Dictionary, the shorter version of self-worth, the value you give your life and achievements. A simplified way, but really good way, I think, of saying the difference between self-worth and self-esteem is that self-worth is fundamentally believing that you are worthy, right? Down at the deepest core level. Self-esteem is when you're feeling good about yourself, or you feel confident about yourself or something you've done, right? Different. I can still have confidence and feel good about something I've done, and I can still feel unworthy. Some of the things I think we feel unworthy about are, we feel unworthy about love, not deserving love, we're not worthy of love, right? We're not lovable. I think we feel that way about success. Success can be in anything. For me personally, financial success, right, or having a successful business, to me was always about finances, and I should be able to make money, and why don't I make very much money? I'm good at what I do, you know, those kinds of things. And it's like realizing, oh, I don't believe I'm worthy of people thinking I'm a good teacher and paying me to do what I do. And so, so it's interesting. Happiness is not that, you might not think that you're worthy of happiness. And so one of the big things that comes up with that is your core beliefs. I just talked about, your core, fundamentally at your core, whether or not you think you're worthy. So what are your beliefs? Mine, some that keep coming up for me are, I definitely don't feel, have not, I'm changing. I did not feel worthy of love, and I did not think I was lovable. Also, I did not feel I just felt unworthy making money, people liking me, people giving me attention. It might sound like I am stupid, I am fat, I am bad, I am ugly, I don't deserve to be happy. Any of these kinds of phrases that come into you, these are core beliefs. And you may know, as 46-year-old Crystal Joy Johnson, I know that I am worthy, right? I can be like, yeah, I'm worthy. And I can think, I am not stupid, I am bright. I've done my work in those areas, right? And so I don't badmouth myself as much anymore. But it doesn't matter when it comes from so deep within and it's so seated, right? That it still continues to come up for you. For me, it does, right? And so I want to also take a moment to explain that neuroscientists talk about the brain being an expectation machine, meaning that if you expect something to be a particular way, your brain will do everything that it has to shift reality, not to shift reality, to make what you expect reality. And I think that's super tied to your core belief. If you expect, if you believe you are unworthy and don't deserve happiness, guess what you're going to make happen, right? So, that's the science behind the brain that tells us that. So for my friends who like modern medical science and get a little woo about woo-woo stuff, I'm on both fields. I like both my woo-woo and I like my modern medical science. So your brain is an expectation machine. I'm going to put some references, by the way, in the bottom in the explanation of this, like a couple of articles and some podcasts that I think are really, really brilliant to start to explore the brain, the way it works, self-worth, what is self-worth, how do I gain self-worth, and these kinds of things. And hopefully they'll be helpful tools to any of my friends who are also struggling with this at this time. So I want to quickly read to you from lonerwolf.com. Thank you, Kim Namath, for introducing me to this article. It's so big. I really like this article. It will be in the link. The link will be below. Right. So 15 signs you're experiencing low self-worth. Look out for the following. You struggle to set strong personal boundaries. You suffer from constant self-doubt. You're cynical about the value of what you do. You struggle to believe that anyone could really love you. You accept compliments without feeling, you can't accept compliments without feeling embarrassed and skeptical. You always put others' needs above your own, i.e. you have the martyr complex. You settle for less in relationships and jobs, thinking it's the best you can do. You value other people's opinions above your own. You always feel a sense of anxiety and tension around others. You are scared of sharing your authentic self with the world. You let others walk all over you or mistreat you. Instead of feeling like the king or queen of your life, you always feel like a beggar needing help or a victim always being hurt. You struggle to speak up and be assertive about your needs. You don't know what your true needs are. You feel more depressed than happy. All 15 of those ring true for me. I was just like, whoa. Some more so than others, and some of them more so in the past than currently, but all 15 of those have been true for me along the way. And so why is that bad? Why is that not good? Why do I need to boost my self-worth? So that you find some respect for yourself, so that you can be your authentic self and be true to you. Maybe finding meaning in your life, or being able to set personal boundaries so you don't get walked on as much. Getting rid of those toxic people in your life who don't help your light shine brighter. Am I missing anything? making wiser decisions, and finding inspiration for everything from how you garden to how you do your work at your job where you get paid, to how you love, to who you invite into your life, right? Well, that's all good, but how in the world do I do that? Wow, that's a great question. Again, down below there's going to be some websites, and they can tell you their opinions and the way that they like to do it. I made a little list, and this list is from my own personal experience. I'm still building up my self-worth, but I've come a long way this year, and so these are the things that helped me and are still continuing to help me. Actually, I want to share two things with you. One, when I read that list, and what was the one? Oh, now I want to look it up. I'm talking about you settle for less in relationships and jobs, thinking it's the best that you can do. One of the realizations that I had recently, I knew it, but it didn't really strike home to me just how much it was about my lack of self-worth. I married a man who in the very beginning told me that his number one priority was his career, not me. And I'm not judging him for that. He told me. I accepted that as if that was okay, that I was not the number one, that someone's career was more important to them, that I was going to spend my life with, right, than I was. So it just comes up for me all over the place where I just compromise and couldn't stand up for myself and couldn't accept that I was actually worthy of someone who would love me, for me, about me. I would be their number one priority, and not only love, but just again in success, thinking, oh gosh, I don't deserve to have, very much money and my business to be wildly successful and all of these things, right? Coming into my power. And that's what's starting to happen for me now. It's really interesting. Suddenly my classes are fuller and I'm getting more private clients. I'm not in a romantic, intimate relationship, but I'm getting love from all of these places, right? I'm receiving and I'm finally seeing it. Oh, the expectation machine. Well, no, this will go into it. I wrote something goofy over here. I want to write it different, but I'm not gonna. Let's start with this. Possibilities for you to start figuring some things out. Journaling. I am a huge advocate of journaling. I've been one my whole life. Stream of consciousness is nice and all, but for this kind of work, I wonder what happens if you sit down and you have questions or you set parameters for yourself. What if one day you write about self and self-worth? What does that even mean? What is the definition? What do I think? Do I have, right? What if one day you write about your philosophy and your personal beliefs and you start to investigate that? And I would say more than one day. Just this morning when I was writing in my journal, I had the realization, the revelization, I would say, that one of my core beliefs that is still really strong, and I didn't know how strong it was until I started to write about it, and just is the fact that I was a mistake. I was not supposed to happen, and my mom got pregnant, and they had me anyway. Somewhere along the line, I heard that, and whether or not it was my family putting that on me, you were a mistake and you were unwanted, or whether or not that was me just making that story up from hearing that I was a mistake, that was the belief that got lodged into my little soul and that I'm still contending with, right? And I found that through journaling this morning. I'm still figuring out what all that means and what that is. And I think part of it is also stillness, right? When we sit down, when we journal, when we meditate, please start a meditation practice. Oh my gosh, there's just too much science about how amazing it is for our physiological body, for our mental body, for everything. Start a meditation practice and start to get still and listen. And yes, in the beginning, it is scary because you don't know what's going to come up and you anticipate all these things you think are going to come up and what have you. But do it. Sit down and be still, or go on a walk without other people, without headphones, right? And be still in that way, and just start to get familiar with your inner self and who you are. Listen, and they will start to tell you, and you will become very familiar with your authentic self and ways you are not treating yourself well. And you can maybe start to hear some of those beliefs come up, those core beliefs. So then when we start to find those core beliefs in ourselves, right, these philosophies that no longer serve us, reframing them, I think, is a really good tool. I often do mine in writing, but you could reframe it and literally draw a picture. You can close your eyes and visualize it in a different way. There are so many ways to reframe. Example, this morning when I was writing about the fact that I was a mistake and I was unwanted, I reframed it. Even if my parents did not want me originally when my mom got impregnated, I know they love me and I know they want me now. I was supposed to be on this earth in this form for all of the people I have met since then, right, who have touched me and I have touched them, and we have interacted and been part of each other's worlds and helped each other's lights shine. And I can't remember all the ones that I wrote down again. It was just this morning. But I'm reframing it. I'm reframing it so that I can see that I am not a mistake and that I am wanted. And that no longer serves me, and that old core belief, pardon my English, is bullshit. Yeah? Having a picture of your younger self, a really cool technique that Christy Huffy, she's a cranial sacral therapist here in town, and I really love her a lot, that she had me work with that was super helpful, was, she started me thinking of me as a baby, and this beautiful little baby in my mom's arm, can you see that? Yep, I can see that, and I'm imagining this in my mind. And so you're getting everything you need. You're getting love, you're getting fed, you're getting warmth, a shelter, right? All of your needs are being met. When is the first time that those needs are were no longer met, or a need was no longer met? Like, what point was that in your life, right? And so starting to work with that and be like, oh, it was at this point in time. Oh, this is what was happening at this point in time. Oh, and it might have been like right away. Maybe when you were a baby, you weren't getting all your needs met. And then, oh my gosh, is that then your core belief, or maybe where it all started, your lack of self-worth? And then, also another thing that's really helpful for me, I have a picture of my little kid self, right? And then, and I put it on my altar. I haven't done it for a little bit, but after this Christy Huffy stuff, I'm bringing it back out again, because I think when we think of ourselves, visualize ourselves, imagine ourselves, look at pictures of ourselves, when we were a little 2-year-old or whatever age that is for you, that beautiful little curious light maker that you were, hopefully you still are, but we can see it more clearly in the innocence of a small child, right? And so then, no matter what your parents' bullshit was, no matter what anyone else's stuff was, that child is worthy, right? We all are. And I can see it for everybody else, but I have a hard time seeing it for myself. But when I look at myself as a little kid, right, a baby and a little toddler, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, that beautiful, beautiful little child is so worthy. And I still am, because I'm that baby. I don't know, maybe it works for you, maybe not. I find it super useful. Thinking of me, not me, right? And literally you can say that out loud. Me, not me. You don't have to say it out loud if you're working with someone at the time or someone's there with you, but when, your boss comes at you and your boss is like, about the thing, that's like, me, not me, right? My worth does not depend on this person yelling at me because they got this into me late, and that doesn't make me a bad person if I don't write this in time, or whatever that is, right? Me, not me. Like, just taking yourself and separating yourself out from that stuff that is not yours. And I think that helps us set clearer boundaries as well. And then, I'm a big believer in therapy. I'm not currently in therapy, but I have been on and off throughout the years when I've been in these big moments or moments of crisis or wanting to explore something. I am in personal energy workshops, which are in a way almost a type of therapy. The things I'm working on and figuring out and that are like coming up for me. But whatever that is for you, if it's a workshop or someone you trust, going and finding a therapist, you know, email your friends and just say, hey, I'm thinking about going to a therapist to try to do you know anyone? And get a reference to somebody who you know can help you with that. There should not be stigma around any kind of mental health, right? We all could use help with mental health. Every single human being. I have yet to meet someone who can't, and or maybe one person that I know who's like super older and been doing spiritual work for a really, really, really long time and got a lot of stuff figured out. Maybe he doesn't need it as much, but everybody else, we could all use it. He could probably use it too still, let's be honest. And then, you know, making connections with fellow human beings and being willing to say this stuff out loud. Yeah, I don't know, and like bouncing it off someone, right? Talking to a friend about, yeah, you know, lately I've been feeling like I'm not enough, and I know I'm trying to figure out where that stems from, and I think it might be this, but I'm not really sure, and you know, and then they will probably also become more vulnerable with you, which, because part of the reason, let's be honest, we're afraid of being vulnerable and being ourselves, and we've been conditioned to put on these masks and be somebody else that we think will get approval so that people don't leave us and all these different things. So what happens if we're vulnerable? We also give other people permission to be vulnerable, right? And then when we're vulnerable together, we're more authentic, and we find this beautiful, deeper connection than you will ever get if you sit and talk about the weather. Yeah, feel free to email me or call me. But you know, I'm not necessarily everyone's confidant. Find someone in your life who you have a connection with that maybe you want to deepen, or whom you trust, and develop that. I think that's all I have to say about self-worth. Oh, no, it's not. I did this once already and I refilmed it because I forgot to say I am making my next video that I'm going to make in a hot second here is a video, a yoga session for self-worth. We're going to be working in the core, which is the third chakra, right? So if that makes you be like, oh yeah, pay $15 a month if you're not already. Join and hop into that school, and then take this and see if that doesn't help you walk away feeling a little bit more empowered, a little more worthy out there in the world. Thank you for being with me on this journey, and for allowing me to be vulnerable with you. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but I keep showing up. I love you, and you are worthy, but don't take my word for it. It's not going to do you any good. Find it within you. Me too. I'm working on it too. Namaste.